Hi everybody, my name is Sherry. Welcome to my stamp studio. So I have a couple of things I want to tell you before we get going on today's project. One is if you're a demonstrator and you are registering to come to Stampin' Up's on-stage event in Indianapolis, then me and some of my team members are having a pre-event the day before. So on Friday, we're having it at the Indiana Historical Society, which is downtown and very close to the convention center where the Stampin' Up event's taking place. It has parking, it has the museum about Indiana, and it will also be kicking off their Festival of Trees, which is a Christmas thing that my family goes to every year. And as part of our event, then the museum gives you free admission to see both of those. So it will be some stamping. Our theme is super fun. We're not going to tell you what it is, so it'll be a surprise when you get there. But the projects aren't just standard cards. You're only going to do 4, and it's going to kind of go along with the art of stamping that I've been doing. So there'll be 4 projects, but they'll take a little bit more time. And the way we're going to do it is we have the room from about 11 to 4. So you can come in anytime if you check into your hotel and then you want to come see us for a little bit, or however you want to do it. It'll take about 2.5 hours probably to do your projects. You'll get a PDF, so if you don't get them finished, because sometimes we all talk, but then you can stay as long as you want. So if you need to finish your swaps, or you want to just stay and chat with us, or you want to look around the museum and then do a project and then go back and look at some more stuff at the museum, however you want to do it, is how you can do it. So it's just going to be a fun day together. And then if you're going to center stage, that is also downtown, you can just nip out maybe with us and go to a restaurant real quick to eat, and then we'll head to center stage. So all super exciting. All that information, there's a registration, is on my website. And then my online retreat is coming up for registration as well. It takes place in September. Unlike my try it classes, I will have a day, like a weekend, where we do it. It's going to be 9 projects. In the past, it's always been 12, my online retreats. But this is the theme of this is also the art of stamping, which is a little bit how today's card is. So each project is going to take you a little bit longer. I'm going to use the new bundles that are coming up, and I'll show you those tomorrow. You don't have to, I lost my train of thought. You don't have to have the stamps if you can substitute something else that you have. So watch for that information. It's going to be super fun. And then finally, today's card is Card Club. I love my card club. And so I've already done this one. And as part of, this is one of the projects that they'll get the supplies to make 2 of this month. But every month, my card club, I like to do it so you learn something. I don't want you to just make cards. So I do want you to make cards, but I want you to learn something every month in card club. So I always do an alternate, because again, if you don't have the stamp set or it's not your style, then you can switch it to something else. So today's card is the alternate, made with the exact same supplies that we did the first one that I just showed you. So let me aim the camera down, and then we'll get going on today's project. All right, so let's do our project. So I'm going to show you my card club. This is my card club for this month. So when I do card club, it's a monthly subscription service. You sign up via PayPal. You do not have to have a PayPal account. I'm being joined by my kitten. Let's see if she'll go on the table, because I have danglies on my shirt you may have seen, and she will attack those because she attacks everything. So you sign up every month. It comes to you. You get the things that are part of Card Club, and then you get the supplies to make 3 projects, but we do 2 of each, so there's 6. And you'll see a little bit of why we do 2 of each in just a second. So there's a bunch of perks. I have a Card Club page on my website, and I will put the link down below this video, or if you're watching in an email, there'll be a link. So this is the first project. Every month I show, everybody gets to see one of our Card Club projects, and then the other 2, they will get this stuff to make them, but those are private videos. But then some months I show you all, some months I don't. the alternate project. So we do two kinds of alternates. I do an alternate with the color and contour, and that this month only they will get to see it. I kind of swap these in and out. And then I do another alternate that uses a different set, because I realize this month is the soft seedling set that I am using. And then if they want to buy it, they can buy it, and I pick up their shipping and handling and tax. So they can just add that to their club. But I realize somebody might already have enough leaves, or some month it just might not be their style. So I like to give them an alternate that uses the exact same supplies that it was on this card. So that's the card I'm going to do for you now. So I'm going to show you what this month's card club is, besides the envelopes and the supplies to make the 6 projects. Most months, 99% of the months, they get a full spool of ribbon. This month they're getting this, and you'll see it in a second. They get a full packet of embellishments, and that's the ones for this month. And then most months they get a half a pack of cardstock. This month is a little bit different, because I wanted to focus on some specialty stuff. So they're getting a half a pack of the metallic cardstock. That's this. And then they're getting a half a pack of the brushstroke cardstock, which I'm going to use. So you'll see the other colors. There's the navy. And then they're getting a half a packet of distressed gold. And I went with these just because it's kind of a fall stamp set, and leaves just make me think of texture and color, and it's a lot of fun to work with. So this month's a little bit different, but I like to do different sometimes. And then for my substitute set, I'm going to use the Hello Harvest bundle. Now I am going to use the dies. It's not, if you do not have a die cut machine and you're in card club, you don't have to worry about that, because anything that needs to be dyed to be on those cards comes to you already cut. But I do realize, because if a stamp set has the option for a bundle, I let them choose if they want the bundle. And most people do choose that. So I know that most of you have a die cut machine. So for this one, I'm going to use Hello Harvest. The dies are really, really pretty. And look at these dies that I'm not using. Because all this paper is textured, these have, they cut and emboss. So it embosses the pretty texture onto the pumpkins. I'm not using those because of the beautiful cardstock that we're using. So this would be the supplies that they got to make the card that I just showed you. And then they would have 2, and that's why I give them 2, so they can make one card as is, and then they have some other stuff. We zoom together, and I do what I call mashups. So that way, if they want to save their stuff for that, or if they love a card, they can make 2 of it. So this is the card that I made. Now it has soft suede, so they have this card that does not go here. And then it has this piece of vellum that came out of the vellum layers, and you can see I've turned it on here. And then this one came with the vanilla, because I put it on the inside. I was really tempted to stamp on this with those really fun pumpkins and color that. But then I thought, no, I'm really in the, I did a series, The Art of Stamping, and I'm kind of like stuck on that. So I'm making everything a little bit more artsy. And the vellum, of course, is a little bit more artsy. It's also the theme of my upcoming online retreat, because, you know, if I'm stuck on it, we might as well all enjoy it while we can, right? So this is what they have in their packet. And then, of course, they have all that stuff I just showed you. So I've already taken, and you can go back to the original video if you want all the measurements. So this is a 1/2 by 5.5, and that's the gold distressed paper. And then this is 3.5, and then I cut it to be 5 1/4. So that gives me this little strip here. Look how this is just beautiful. That's why I wanted to use it this month. And then I can put this on the inside, or you can save it for another project. Because this one I did not stamp the inside just because of the time factor. So I'm going to fold this in half. And then I'm going to start with my ribbon. I'm going to lay this kind of here. So you can see on this one, I colored the ribbon. So I wanted to do the same thing, because there's no reason you can't do the same card and just substitute stamps. So if you have your grid paper, you can measure about 5.5, which is about what we need. And this is 7. So I need to go about to here. So it kind of just gives you a place of where you want to start coloring. And then I'm going to use soft suede. This is the dark. And then I'm going to use the dark soft succulent, because that's what color this cardstock is. Now this pink and the green both came out of the brush stroke, so they have both. So even if they wanted to do this card that I'm doing now and use it for their leaves and do green instead, you can do that, because maybe you don't have the same colors I used, but you can mix them up. You can do whatever you want. This is the light soft succulent. And you want to make sure when you do this that you get a little bit of the inside of that ribbon. And then we have a touch of Calypso Coral. I didn't want a whole lot of this, but you know how autumn is when we start getting those touches of color. And then on my other one, I didn't use any of it, but on this one I am going to use just a touch of my dark daffodil. The other one I thought it might be too much, but then when the card was done, I thought I could have put it on there because it gets toned down on the gold. And then I'm going to go back to my light soft succulent because that's kind of how fall goes, right? The colors kind of bleed and come out and go away, and then it all changes to brown. Make sure I did this long enough. Yep. So I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to let that dry. It is a blend, so they dry fast, but not, they can still get on your fingers. I have my sister's birthday party tonight, so I don't want to have inky fingers because I'm already dressed for the day. Sometimes when I do these, I'm still in my pajamas. So now let's take our vellum. So on the other one, I stamped directly on the vellum and then I just trimmed it down. So in this one, that stamp set doesn't really lend itself to that technique. So I'm going to take my Versamark and stamp the big flowers. My goal with my card club is that you learn something. So every time you do a project each month, there should be one thing at least that you take away that you've learned. So hopefully embossing on vellum, because the other way, now we will have done it two different ways. So hopefully if you've never done that before, after this month of card club, you'll be like, oh, I like embossing on vellum. So obviously you can't see it. This is our Versamark pad. It's just sticky. You could do it in any color because on this one, I'm going to use gold. This time I used clear. This time I'm using gold. And because the gold's going to cover it up, it just has to stay wet long enough that you can put this in here. So just pour that on. If you do the online retreat, you are going to need embossing powder because you need it when you're doing a bunch of art with your stamping. And don't get me wrong, I love to just the simplicity of just some ink and a stamp. I'm going to put this up later. And sometimes, you know, you're like, oh, we're leaving for a birthday party. And then you're like, oh, I never made a card. So sometimes you don't have time to spend 30 minutes on a card. So I'm going to heat this up. And it's got some goodies around it. I didn't shake them off, but this is getting die cut out. So you don't have to be super careful about the outside. So the gold is nice because now you can take and tilt it and see if I got everywhere, and I did. So that's good. I'm going to take my blends and I'm going to color this in. So I'm going to do a green pumpkin. I did think about using, those of you in Card Club, if you have this, because this piece would work with the leaves or with a pumpkin. How much fun would that be? But because I wanted to do the exact same card, I decided to not. And, you know, if you go to Hobby Lobby soon, there will be green pumpkins and pink pumpkins and white pumpkins because, you know, we just like pumpkins. So whatever color, there's even purple. So I'm going to take my dark soft succulent and I'm going to color with the brush tip just real lightly because it does color the embossing powder. So kind of go around it because you don't want it to be green. You want that to stay gold. If it hits some, that's okay. Kind of get down in there in between them. And then I'm going to take my light soft succulent and color these middles. And you can see it blends. So where I've got these stark lines right here, it does blend those away. Put another swash because once it dries, then you can, this doesn't so much blend once it's dry as it just layers colors on top because the vellum's a little bit different with the blends than it is if you use regular cardstock. Now I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to flip it over And down here where I couldn't get in between all that embossing powder, I'm just going to color on the back and just give it some stripes of color. Kind of shade it. Now this may look really dark on this side, but when you turn it over, it gets muted. Now see how pretty that is? Now you have some layers of color. So now let's go over to our flowers. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start on the back and hit all my leaves. And you don't even have to stay in the lines. You don't wanna go like wild and crazy. Well, you can go wild and crazy. But because the embossing color on the other side is fatter than what it looks back here, you have a little bit more room to work with. So this way I will get all my leaves because it's kind of hard to tell which ones are leaves. But now when I flip it over, I'm like, those are the leaves. So I want my flowers to be sunflower-ish, but I didn't want a ton of color. Like I wanted this card to stay mostly green. I'm gonna take my coral and just put it here in the middle. And then on my other one, I did more yellow flowers, but on this one, I'm gonna do a little bit more coral because I kind of like it. And then I'll take my daffodil, kind of get these spots, but I'm gonna flip it over and do it again. This kind of just tells me where I'm going. In fact, I think maybe I did them this way. I can't remember what color I did them in on the other one. And see, I missed those, which are leaves. But now when we flip it over, we have something that we're kind of working with. So I'm gonna take my my bullet tips from now on, and I'm gonna do this in the dark soft suede. And then over here, I want my flowers to be mostly brown, but kind of where that peaks in between, you'll be able to see the yellow. You're probably gonna have to go to my website to see an up close good picture of this, because it's gonna be hard to show you on camera. It's raining today, and it's in the 70s, which it hasn't been in the 70s for a long time. But it's a gray day, so it's harder to see. Now let's take the bullet tip of my green and go back and get a few of the leaves so they're just a little bit darker. This has so much gold on it that it's really kind of hard to get a lot of color, but that's okay because I said I wanted it to be mostly gold and green, my card. So we're good. That's good there. Let that finish drying just a second. Now I've got this piece here, and I told you that it's 3 3/4 by 6, because that's how they get a 6-inch piece of cardstock. So I cut this off so it's 5 1/4. So I have this little piece of scrap here. Don't throw that away because it's going to be one of the prettiest parts of our card. And then I have just some words out of the stamp set. I think it says "You were such a blessing." But you know, if you watch me, you know I don't believe in stickers. Feel free to put your stickers on. I just don't like to. So got that on there. I'm going to emboss this in gold. This time you want to make sure you get more of the goodies off the outside. Otherwise you'll have little gold speckles. It's not the end of the world because gold is beautiful. You just don't want it to look messy. So got that. Isn't that pretty? This is just pretty like this. I call this my department store paper. It makes me feel like I've gone into L.S. Ayres or something in the 70s and they're gonna gift wrap my package. So now let's cut these things out. So let's start with our vellum. Oops, I don't know why I'm taking that one off. And then so we have our pumpkin, and then we have our flowers. And the stamp set comes with some other different things, but those are the two that we used here. And then we have the little swirlies, the little grapevine. I guess they're pumpkin vines. Not great. They look like grapevines, but they're not. I'll put that on there. It's my little tiny scrap that I saved. And you could do it, like I thought about doing them in the distressed gold, but you have this piece here, and otherwise it's probably going to end up in the trash, because how many of us keep these tiny pieces for a little bit, and then one day when you just have too much stuff, you're like, I got to get rid of some of this, and these are the first things to go. And this paper's too pretty to not use. But if you have little scraps of the distressed gold, which I don't for Card Club yet because I haven't cut it that way, then use that. If you have just gold foil, that would be pretty. If you have the evergreen glimmer paper, that would be beautiful. But now we've made complete use out of that strip of paper. And then we just have to put our card together. And it's gonna go together almost the exact same way that the other one did. So I'm going to take my seal. And so this is 3 3/4 and this is 1/4. So that equals 4 by 5 1/4. I did do my gold on this one and in 5 1/2, so we go the full length of the card. So we have that. And then I'm gonna put my ribbon on here, just like I did on the other one. So I'm gonna go 1 strip over like that. And so here's our distressed gold. And like I said, it's 5 1/2. Oops, I'm sticking myself to the card. So go there. And then we have this little bit of a gap. And that's for this beautiful piece of ribbon. And the side that you colored will be a little bit brighter than the flip side, just like the vellum. So decide, do you want it more muted or you want it bright? I'm gonna go for bright. And I want the center of that, because this ribbon is so pretty. And the center of this kind of gives a different look from where it peeks through with the suede, where it peeks through with this distressed gold, and where it peeks through with this beautiful green paper. So I've got that. And then let's stick our pumpkin on. You can use dimensionals, but you have to be really, really creative with it if you're using them on vellum. So I'm just gonna use my seal, and I've just put the seal where the darker green is on that side. That way you won't even notice it when you flip this over. So we have that. And then when I use it on here, I like the way that this is bendy, and it's bendy from being die cut and heat embossed. So I'm just gonna add my adhesive right where those sunflowers are. Well, in my world, there's sunflowers. I don't know if in the artist world they were, but, and then just kind of tilt those on there. And then I'm gonna have to go to my fine tip glue to get these grapevines that are pumpkin vines on. So I'm just gonna add 3 generous dollops. I mean, not like super, but in respect to the size of this card, they're larger. And then there's a definite top on some of them, on others there's not. So I'm just gonna stick them in that glue. I only want the ends in because I love the way that they curl. See, this one has a flat and then some pretty. So don't put the flat on the top if there is another end that's pretty. This one has the same thing. Those have 2 little leaves, and that just is an end. So I've got those. And I'm just gonna use the same glue and grab these. You don't wanna put the identical ones right on top of the other one, or you'll just lose the fact that the vellum one's under there. So still sticking those down in that glue. And then glue will dry clear, so you don't have to worry where we kind of put a generous portion on that it is gonna be seen. Isn't that pretty? And then for the embellishments this month, remember they have the Christmas sequins. So I know sometimes, because they tell me the choices that I make, they're like, I wasn't sure that was gonna work. So we have the Christmas sequins. Now when I designed the card in my head, I thought, well, I'll just use the white ones, right? Because we have this soft succulent card. And then we're left with some sorbet and then some bright green. I think I don't know that it's parakeet. Maybe it's garden green. I'm not sure what that kind of green is. But look, these look beautiful. Those are really pretty with this. And actually, these look pretty because I used that little bit of Calypso Coral. And with the shimmer on these, you can do that. But then when it was all said and done, I went with the green. It was not my intent, but they work really well. And wait till you see how pretty these are. Now, there are some of them that have more of the iridescent on top than others. So I'm intentionally picking ones that have less of the iridescent because it has a bit of a pink tone to it. And there's no pink on this card. It would work on the other one. Let's do that there. So we went with the exact same supplies and just switched up the stamp set. And we still have the white piece of paper left. that I could have stamped this on the outside, but it's pretty on the vellum. Isn't it pretty on the vellum? Look how pretty that is. So anytime you see a card online, anytime you see a card in a class and it's not your thing or you don't have the exact same stuff, it doesn't mean that you can't use it. Here's the one I did. So now here it is. It's still fall. I still went with the fall theme, but super pretty and super easy to switch up. Now I did use the little maple leaf on the back of here, and this one does have, I don't know where I laid it. It does have a leaf that comes in the pumpkin. So I thought about putting it back there, but this card had a lot going on already, so I opted not to, but it would be really pretty stamped on the inside of the card. So there you go. If you're interested in joining my card club, you have till the 10th of each month to sign up. So we're right at the deadline here for August card club. So if you're watching this and it's past it, you can't get this month's, but you can get in on September. So all the information is down below the video, always on my website, and in my email is the very best place to get information. Have a great one. Bye.